This means that societal shame and other types of pressure are keeping people from getting the help they need. It also means that most of our population has needed some type of mental health at some point in their lives, and they haven't sought it out. It means that most people in this room have probably needed it at some point in their lives and have not sought it out. And one thing I want to point out is that it's not necessarily long-term care that I'm talking about. Some people just need a little bit of help through a relationship issue, or they might have a little bit of depression. But for some people, this sets in and becomes very long-term to them. It becomes very prevailing, and they just can't shake it. So those are the ones that really need the help as well. But no matter if it's short-term or long-term, you deserve to get the help you need. So one thing that mental health stigma does is it creates barriers for people to get the help they need. It creates a sense of harassment for people, avoidance, a loss of social status, they lose friends, their home life can be affected, housing and insurance can even be affected. It is problematic. So imagine if it's problematic for people in a short-term capacity. Imagine how damaging that is for people that have long-term care of some sort, that they're being held off from this just because of the way society treats them because they have a mental illness that's short or long-term. So speaking of this is Dr. Paul Fink. He is the author of Stigma and Mental Illness, and he says many factors influence why stigma is so prevalent in our society today. He says a lot of people are afraid of behavior that is against the norm. They are afraid it's bizarre or frightening, and it's just different for them. Media also depicts how we view people with mental illnesses. They like to sensationalize. They pull out the worst cases they can and present that for people to consume because it sells papers or gets likes on their page or gets people to view it. Another thing that needs to be talked about is the failures of the mental health system. Are people being pushed out too soon before they're getting all the help they need because insurance is not allowing them to stay? All these stand as barriers for people to have a healthy, happy life. Another person I want to bring up is Laura Greenstein, who is the author of 9 Ways to Fight Mental Health Stigma, which was published on the website, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. She informs us to combat mental health stigma, we first need to talk openly about it. It needs to be brought out to the light because nothing can be dealt with until it's brought out. She wants us to educate ourselves and others so that we know what can be done and what it is about. She wants us to be conscious of our language. Don't use words like nuts or crazy to describe people that are going through something. That stands in the way of them getting the help they need because they don't want to be viewed in that capacity by other people. Encourage equality between physical and mental illness, which means if somebody is hurt, like I said, you expect them to go to the hospital or the doctor. Well, it should be the same thing when somebody is severely depressed or suicidal. Their family and loved ones should expect them to get the same type of care. It should just be expected. Another thing is to show compassion for those with mental illness. Show them that they're no different than anybody else just because they're going through something. A lot of people can't control it. Choose empowerment over shame, which means if you yourself need help, don't let anybody else talk down to you and make you feel bad because you need that help. Be honest about your treatment. Let others know what you're going through so that they know that there are other people going through the same thing. It always helps to know that people are in the same boat you are. Let the media know when they've been stigmatizing. Call them out on it. Don't put up with it. Another thing is don't harbor self-stigma. Don't let what society is telling you about mental health keep you from getting the help that you need. So in order to combat mental health stigma, awareness is key. It needs to be increased, first by knowing what it is, who it affects, second by knowing why it's an issue, and third by knowing what can be done and why it should be taken care of. Again, I ask you to picture your loved ones hurt or sick or wounded. Now imagine that is a mental problem they are facing. This is also something you want them to take care of. Now also picture the fact that just because now you know a little bit more about mental health stigma, you can help by following the steps that I laid out for you. Thank you very much for listening to me today.
Yay!
Thanks for coughing all the way through, Mom.